Good evening and welcome to the Wednesday, March 23rd meeting of the Energy and Environmental Advisory Committee. I just want to note that we have present our board members, committee members, Sinette Cavalier, Matt Piston, Bob Knauer, Chris Tenay, Sarah Waterman, and Mark Valentine is present as well. So moving right into our agenda, if everyone's okay, I would like to ask Sarah about a CCA update. Great.
So the CCA program has been officially running for about 2 to 3 months now. Residents started having their bills affected in the middle of January. At this point, for both January and February, the monthly averages for the RG&E base electric supply cost were actually higher than the base 50% green program that we have for CCA. So that's good to know. Last meeting, we went over a number of how many residents opted in versus opted out and such. We will continue to get updates on that from Good Energy. And the town is working with Good Energy to get some kind of example bills to help educate residents. And they're doing that with me and Chris Tenay's effort.
Thank you. One question that someone asked me was, do you know approximately, understand if you don't have an accurate number, but a rough ballpark of how many people opted up? How many homeowners?
23.
23, okay. That seems pretty accurate.
It's a pretty good.
It was the number I was given.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any questions for Sarah? It seems like it seems like more people are understanding their bill, a lot fewer questions reaching the town hall that I'm aware of. Yep. How do you see that?
We're getting maybe 1 to 3 a week, which is not bad compared to at the very beginning of the opt-out period. Mm-hmm. There is currently an ongoing opt-out period for approximately 600 residents.
Okay.
Those are residents that they had an RG&E bill change that can result from a number of things, from moving out, moving in, new apartments, those kinds of things, or even new builds. But those are the numbers that all of those things happened, and there was a bill change between November and January. So November 21 and January 22. We haven't gotten a ton of calls on that. It doesn't appear that Good Energy has gotten a ton. But there are some residents that are just looking to be educated so that they can make good decisions.
Excellent. That's what we want. Okay, very good. Is there anything else we want to add before we move on? Okay, our next up on our agenda are some upcoming events, and we can start by talking about the Penfield Plantathon, the tree seedling planting giveaway. That's actually coming up Saturday, April 23rd from 10:30 to 12:30 in the morning at Rothfuss Park. Sarah, did you want to add anything to this, or would you like me to speak to it?
I'd like to push it to Mark Valentine.
Excellent.
So Catherine's been working on it. She's our junior planner and GIS person, so she found the grant. We did get a grant to plant some trees in Rothfuss Park, so she's got a $1,000 grant to go and do that, and then we're looking to pair that with, this is the County Soil and Water does these sapling, say giveaways. You do need to purchase them, but we're looking to do that as a giveaway, one with the Conservation Board Committee, and then obviously extend it to the EEAC to be involved as well. We are looking to have some speakers there, so Supervisor Cinti to speak, kind of welcome everybody. Hopefully it's a nice day. Come to Rothfuss Park, bring your family. You can be part of doing some tree plantings. We're looking to plant along the pathway that kind of runs around the back, so hopefully a few years from now you'll have some nice shade as you walk that pathway, as well as have some seedling giveaways for families. They can pick them up, plant them at home. Again, we call them seedlings because they're bare root, small plants, not expecting to pick up full trees. But is also looking to have Bruce Zaretsky, who is our landscape consultant for the town, come and speak, talk about tree planting, talk about, plants and stuff in the area. Looking to have the Conservation Board have a table there. They can answer questions and giveaways. And I think Catherine's also working with the Trails Committee and some other committees and seeing if we can have multiple tables there. We know that the weekend before, or 2 weekends before, is Electric Car Show, and then the following weekend is Good Neighbor Day, but Earth Day falls, I think, on the 22nd. So with that, that's when the seedlings come out. So I know there's multiple events, and that's why we're kind of highlight all of them today, that there's kind of a lot going on as we come into spring, a lot of different events that can be attended. But I think this will be a good one at Rothfuss Park that, people can come out with their families, get a tree, help plant a tree, be part of that, have some discussions. Hopefully there's some other groups there. I think Colored Penfield Green is talking about having a table and some information, which then they may share about the electric car classes and the electric homes, and so I think there'll be multiple items, events as part of that. And as we confirm all of those groups, we'll work with Chris and the PR team to push that out and to let people know what's all involved in the day.
That's great. This is turning into a very robust event, so really community-wide, so
Yeah, I think
great to
she's
hear.
done a good job of spurring off of that, the grant for the tree planting, and then creating a whole day or a morning event out of it, be good for the community.
Excellent.
For clarity, that is April 23rd, so next month.
Yes, it's next month, Saturday, April 23rd, 10:30 in the morning until 12:30. Any questions for Mark?
Hope for good weather.
Yeah.
As always, we'll...
It could snow, I mean.
It could snow. As I say, we're hoping for sunshine and a nice spring day, but...
So let's just say, just out of curiosity, if it is bad weather, are we still going to hold it or an abbreviated?
Yeah, I mean, we do abbreviated portion of it. I know she's working with both rec and the parks to have some tents, so at least we've got some cover shelter if need be.
Okay.
Also working with the Parks Department, they can maybe pre-dig some of the holes, and then, if the Boy Scouts are there, they can help plant trees. And
Great.
So we'll try to, as the weather comes, see, what we've got, but it'd be nice if we can still hold the event and at least still have the giveaway, at the very least.
Okay.
They're sharing the graphic that was prepared already on the screen now. So,
Perfect. Thank you.
We've got signs up around the town hall for that. I know Catherine's looking to put those at the community center. I think we've shared that on Facebook, and as well as she's looking at putting some signs out, kind of near the 5 Mile Atlantic intersection, so as people are driving around town. So multiple methods, means to communicate with our residents.
No, I think that everyone's really pitched in to spread the word, and I know, Chris, you've helped out tremendously with press releases and things like that, so very much appreciated. Are there any questions for Mark?
No, I had gotten a request to have some electric cars there, so within, the folks I know, I think Katie Rigg is planning on bringing her Tesla. I'll bring my car. Maybe we'll have 3 or 4 electric cars there too, just
Very nice.
to add to the event.
Great. Thank you. All right, if there's no other comments, then why don't we move on to an update on the Monroe County Water Authority solar project update on Watson Hulbert. And Mark, you're going to address this
Yep.
topic.
So we've talked about this a couple of times with this committee. So out on Watson Hulbert Road, the Monroe County Water Authority has installed, I say installed at this point, all the panels are in. It is in place on Watson Hulbert. If you've been out there or been past it, you can see it's in place. I don't think it's quite gone live yet. They're working on making final connections, and as this group remembers, as we worked with RG&E, there's a little bit of a delay. The panels are up, everything's in, and then it takes a little time for RG&E to make the cutover or tie it in. But as part of that, and I think Bob, you might have been the one that had requested, would it be possible to do a tour? And possibly with this group, we've done some tours in the past. It's close, it's nearby. Would the Water Authority welcome us, or be willing to do a tour? They thought that was a great idea. Said, yeah, once it's up and running, we'd be glad to have people out there. Theirs is a little bit different than ours. and we did a tour of our facility. Ours is a fixed system. Theirs actually has a pivot on it, so they can adjust it, to the sun. So it'll kind of be cool to see how that adjusts and can tilt, with the angle of the sun. Theirs is also, they have dual panels, so front and back. And Bob can probably weigh in, I think they said they picked up 10 to 15% more energy off of what bounces off the ground and just the reflectivity on the back of the panel. So just
Wow.
to see a little bit of that difference and seeing how the technology's changed just in the past 10 years of, what we've put ours in, ours was a little delayed in going in, and just seeing how much energy increased when we put the panels in. We got more energy than what we had originally expected just in that time frame, and then now to see with those double-sided panels and how much more energy you can pick up off of that, seeing the adjustment that they've got on their system, and then hopefully at that point they've got some data and we can see how much power they're generating and what they're pushing back compared to what we typically have seen.
I did not realize that the town solar array did not pivot.
Ours does not move. I mean, and theirs is not going to twist as the sun goes. It's just going to adjust the angle so it pivots up and down. So just as the sun is lower in the sky in the wintertime, you can raise it up, and I think it may even adjust during the day as the sun rises and lowers, but it doesn't turn to follow. Some really fancy systems will track the sun across the day. This one will just adjust so as the sun's higher in the sky, you can lower the panels down, you can raise it up and pick it up as it's, coming across the.
Yeah, it's an east-west tracker.
Mm-hmm.
So, so it just tracks at sunrise, it starts in the east and then slowly just moves over to the west by the end of the day and then resets.
So it's automatic?
Yeah.
Neat.
Yeah, so I think it'd be neat to see how that system works
Yeah.
and how that, adjusts. And ours is a fixed system. Not that it makes it bad, it still functions, still works, but just to kind of see how technology's been improving and different things that are available now.
And I know you said it's not online yet, but any rough idea when?
I think they're hopeful within the next month that it would be online, and then, we can look at, our next meeting, whether we do a field trip or in between time. Say we've scheduled different ones in the past. We've gone to recycle centers, we've gone to the landfills and looked at some of that stuff, Eco Park, but this might be a nice close by field trip that, we can go over as this group and take a look at it.
Great. Thank you very much. Any other questions for Mark? Okay. And some events, items of interest. Drive Electric Earth Day on April 9th. Bob, did you want to talk?
Sure. So as you know, the Drive Electric Earth Day event is April 9th, 9 a.m. to 12 noon at the community center. The online sign up, I just checked it, and there's 80 people signed up with 34 vehicles. That continues to increase. Not everybody signs up, so looking at these numbers, just what's happened in the past with some of the other electric car shows, there will probably be close to 50 electric cars there this year.
How many did we start with?
Which is good news. Pardon?
How many did we start with? How many years?
I think the very first year, like 10 or 11 years ago, we probably had 4 or 5. Yeah. There's going to be some not-for-profit organizations there, color Penfield green. I did get an email from RG&E, Dora Baker. They want to come out with one of their electric cars, RG&E, and they have some information, or I guess they're talking more about smart grid. So I asked them if they had any information, that they could share, some handouts or whatever to bring those along. Some of the folks working on it were trying to get some car dealers out. More is just to hand out cards, bring some of the available cars, electric cars that are out there right now. And I believe so far Van Bortle has agreed to come out On a Saturday, it's kind of tough. It's kind of hit and miss, but hopefully we can get 2 or 3 dealers out to the event.
I'm not familiar with smart grid. Can you explain that?
So smart grid, it basically controls, a smart grid will control your loads within an electric territory. A real good example that's in place right now that RG&E has in place is if you have a Wi-Fi thermostat, you can sign up for a program where during the summertime, when the electric loads are really high, you can elect to turn over control of your air conditioning to RG&E for an afternoon where they will turn up the temperature of your air conditioning. I think it's by maybe 4 degrees. And if you, the program's changed a little bit over the years, but if you elect to do that during the warm season, I believe now you get a $20 credit on your electric bill. So that's kind of the start of it. Another function of smart grid might be down the road, they may say that for residential, as a kind of like time of use billing, if you're going to charge your electric car, we're going to turn your car charger on and off during the evening when the load is down. And by controlling all these different loads out in their territory, they have, of course, a finite amount of generation. And what they're constantly trying to do is kind of level off that production so you don't have the peaks and the valleys and so forth. So smart grid, it controls your loads right now. You know, it's voluntary with the customers. And with a lot of industrial customers, that's done quite a bit. I know in the past, Eastman Kodak has done it when they were in full production, where they would shed their load in return for lower electric cost or some, monetary. So it's going to be interesting to see. I know there's a big push for New York State infrastructure to roll out smart grid in New York State.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Bob? No? All right, and then we also have Good Neighbor Day coming up on Saturday, May 7th from 8:30 in the morning until 12 noon. Does anyone want to talk about that, or I can talk about it? It's up to you. All right, so Good Neighbor Day is basically done by the Rothfuss family, or started it in memory of Terry Rothfuss, and it meets usually around that first or second Saturday of May. I believe they will start at Rothfuss Park this year. Anyone can come. You come over and you're assigned a task, and then you can drive out with another group or yourself and help out a neighbor who's in need of something. There are several senior citizens who might need some help with their spring cleanup outside. It's generally outdoor work. If you want more information, you just need to go to the Penfield Rec brochure, and there is a whole description of the event and sign-up information and things like that. So just check the Penfield Rec brochure. I think that's all I want to add. I'll certainly mention it in April as well. Okay. So getting on to our next item agenda, we wanted to have a lengthier discussion about the goals for 2022 and talking about that for this committee, also bringing in the concept of clean energy communities and climate smart communities, which are two programs that towns have been able to pursue in different ways. One of the things that I'm sort of discovering as I just transition into this role is we need to make sure that when the committee decides that they want to support something or move towards a goal or priority, that the staff at the town hall can support it. You know, there's always manpower on the side of the town hall that we need to take into consideration. So I always want to just preface everything with, let's have a discussion, but we also need to make sure that we move everyone forward at the same time, that the town board is on board, that the staff can also help us meet our goals as well. So I'll just preface that before we just turn it open. Okay? And Sarah, I know you've done a fair amount of research. I'm not sure if you would like to speak, or Mark, or...
I can speak to some of what the requirements are for climate smart communities and clean energy communities. And I'm happy to share that, and then maybe we can open it to the committee for the members to voice their thoughts. Does that work for everyone? Looks like yes is around. So climate smart communities and clean energy communities are just a couple more acronyms that are basically initiatives by NYSERDA in New York State to push sustainable efforts. Climate smart communities, you can register to be a climate smart community by passing a resolution. And then to actually be certified as a climate smart, or designated is the kind of the more correct word. To be designated as a climate smart community, you can be designated as a bronze level or a silver level. I'll kind of give more details on bronze because that's the closer level, and we can probably look into silver later. For bronze, there's 2 mandatory efforts of 4 efforts that are required by the municipality. And there's approximately 115 efforts or actions that can be completed in general. To maintain certification or designation as a climate smart community, every 5 years, you have to, as a community, have these actions or this number of actions completed. So say one of them is community campaigns, an action that we're actually currently in the middle of for clean energy communities. It also counts for climate smart communities, but you would have to redo it every 5 years for it to stay active, essentially. For clean energy communities, to be designated as a clean energy community, you also have to take 4 high impact actions of, I believe, 14. So there's less that qualify. A lot of these actions we're actually already taking as part of the town. And we've already actually been acknowledged by NYSERDA for 2 of them. One is energy code training, and the other, actually, it was posted on their website this week, is one of our community campaigns was approved. So we did complete one of our 2 community campaigns. You can be considered a clean energy community and not designated as one if you've started actions but have not completed the 4 required actions. So we are completely considered a non-designated municipality under clean energy communities.
Okay.
So I know that's a lot of information. We've talked about a lot of these things before, and that's kind of where the town is currently. And I'd love to open it up, if it's okay, to the rest of the committee to give input, thoughts, feelings.
Sure.
Yeah, I know when we went through the high impact actions sometime back on the clean energy communities, there were already a significant number of things that we have already accomplished. And there is a look-back period where doing those in the past would still qualify. So I want to be sure, if we decide that we want to go that route, we don't want to miss those deadlines for some of the things that we've already accomplished. I think it was, things like maybe the charging stations, the solar that we've done in the town, some of the building retrofits that were done. There's a whole host of things. The environmental monitoring that we're doing in the buildings, those kinds of things.
Yep. So there are some of those items that I don't believe qualify anymore because one of the primary look-back dates is 2016. I actually started here in 2016, and there's a number of items that were done prior to that. However, I have heard anecdotally from other municipalities that based on some of the items and the difficulty of repeating them, there is some leeway that the town board, the town supervisor can write a letter to NYSERDA and kind of request to be grandfathered in for those items. So that is definitely something we should consider and look into.
If I'm understanding you correctly, it sounds like we're kind of on our way with the CEC program, a little less on our way with CSC, right? Climate Smart Communities. What is the benefit of each of these? If we were to get CEC designation, does that entitle us to anything?
That was my question.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Let's have Matt answer. Let's have Matt ask it. I don't mean to.
No, I don't need to restate it. I was just wondering. Because especially if you have to recertify every
Right.
5 years and.
Well, and for clean energy communities, you do not have to recertify.
Okay.
Everything that you do continues to essentially be complete. For clean energy communities, there are action item grants and there are point-based grants. Action item grants are, for example, the community campaigns that we are currently doing. We're doing 2 right now. One is electric vehicles and one is clean heating, cooling, and energy efficiency for homes. Both of those are worth their own individual points of 200. That's wrong. One is 200 and one is 500. They just changed that this year. And each of those, if you complete them, the town can get up to $5,000 in a grant for each individual. That grant can be used towards a sustainable effort. There's a large number of sustainable efforts that can be done. One that we're looking into because we just got approval for the electric vehicle charging campaign or electric vehicle campaign is a charging station. And we feel that that would be very beneficial for both the town hall as well as other potential locations in town. For the point-based grant, you can get, I believe it's up to $40,000 as a grant towards a sustainable effort. That type of money is more effective if we're looking to put in solar somewhere, or we're looking to do heat pumps for buildings, or more large-scale energy efficiency type things. For the climate smart communities, there are also different grants that essentially, by being designated a climate smart community, it puts us higher in running for those different grants by New York State. So it's a little bit less of a guarantee, but it puts us above other towns applying for those grants. And I forget the acronym that those grants are under.
It's okay. You'll just confuse us.
There's just a lot of acronyms.
So, and then,
It's probably something else that starts with a C and ends in a C.
Probably.
It does start with a C.
and so actually
course.
earning the Clean Energy Community designation also unlocks a $5,000 grant. So all by itself, you know, it's kind of one of those layered on top of things.
Okay.
And what's the difference between like bronze and silver under the?
And that's climate smart.
Yeah, right.
The difference is how many actions that you take.
No. The difference in benefits. Do you go higher on the list?
I'm not aware at this time.
I think that's more of a pride in city kind of designation.
I think that's kind of like a LEED certified,
Yeah.
you can put the plaque on the wall and whether we're bronze, silver, platinum. So I think that's more of a, you said, a pride or something you can kind of wave the flag and show that, you know, we're a higher level of, in the community.
It
but I
might be
don't-
worth more points too, in
It
terms
is.
of going for the different grants as well.
So is it reasonable to start with one and then graduate to see a climate smart community, perhaps? It seems like both of these are really great, but in terms of just making sure we do something well, you know, with the staff that we have, is it maybe one at a time? I'm wondering.
There can
That's
be.
my request.
There-
From a staffing end of things, yeah, I mean, I would prefer, and they're great programs, and I don't need to want to slow them down, but just as, you know, with our current staffing, with the current workload, with the current amount of projects we've got going on, and as Bob knows from planning board, everybody coming out of COVID wants to build something, so we're flat out right now with a lot of things, so I think clean energy communities, at least staffing wise, I think we're further along in that program. I think we've got a lot of the items ready. I think that's something we could look to roll out this year. And then as we maybe secure additional staffing, and then I think as looking ahead we look at what else in the program, our budget season's coming up for the town, and I got to kind of look at next year's budget. Do we need staffing, $2 to make some of these things happen? So, you know, as we're already looking at 2023 from a townwide budget, you know, we could look and assess if there's other dollars we need to allocate towards that, and then work with the board, you know, as we get into budget season, is looking at next year. And, you know, as we've done in the past, we've followed a lot of the things in Climate Smart Community, and I think we've looked at that program and paralleled it on many things. But just from a purely selfish standpoint, just make sure we're staffed appropriately, because, you know, once we get in the program, as you said, we want to do it well. We want to make sure, if we're going that way, that, you know, nobody wants to fall out of the program for not keeping up, and if we've got to recertify every 5 years, that's real time, effort, money to, you know, keep up those certifications and to keep.
So, okay, I'm not saying this is a bad idea. I just want to throw this question out there. So if we start talking about needing to throw money at this goal, hiring staff, and we're doing it in part to achieve grants for certain projects, is there a point where we're spending too much time, energy, and effort chasing this goal for the grants, and we're not getting the same benefit and reward out of it?
And that's what I think I'd just like to take a closer look at Climate Smart for that. I think clean energy, I think, you know, there are grants right off the top. There's items and you can get, you know, dollars for that. And I think that's, I say, much more achievable. My recommendation is have this committee put it forth. We got to then go to the town board, make sure the town board is comfortable with joining, because they're the ones that would put the community, you know, in that program. So I think that's a recommendation from this group saying, yes, we'd like to move ahead with clean energy. If it makes sense, I think we can then work to get into that program, join it, and then I think keep our finger on the pulse of Climate Smart, and then look, as, you know, if we have additional staffing, look at, are there other grants? Does that still make sense to, you know, to join that one? I say we've tracked it. We've done a lot of the programs. We've done car charging stations. We've done solar. We've done a lot of those elements that are in that program. We've just not, you know, as of yet designated or jumped into that.
So I just want to add too, because not everyone, I think, might be aware that, you know, the town put in the budget for this year a sustainability engineer. So that person has yet to come on board. We're still finalizing it through civil service, which takes a while.
Takes way
But
too much time.
right, but having that person in place would be a great asset in terms of developing and executing a comprehensive sustainability plan for the town, which might include things like CSCC.
Yep.
So I just want to be out there that is on the town board's mind. We did budget for that this year to add a sustainability engineer.
I mean, and one of the big things to consider is, to Matt's point, the balance of how much we're pushing towards a sustainability goal that the town board and this committee has, assuming both have the same goal, and how much staff costs, grants, whatever monies are going towards that. And that's, in my opinion, as someone that is essentially employed by the town board, if they're not on board, then we don't go in that direction, of course. But this committee is here to recommend what this committee feels is appropriate in the direction of sustainability.
All right, so if I'm hearing people, and I just want to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to participate in this conversation, is there anyone else who wants to speak before I try to summarize everything?
Yeah, just one, to Sinette's point, with the CEC really just changing over to us being designated, it's already going to unlock one grant, and there's another grant in the wings, I would guess, the way that the outreach has been going. So if we decide to go in that direction, I guess my point is, there would be some immediate benefits that we would probably realize this year.
And I would say that's not with a huge difference in effort by the town.
Sinette?
So my philosophy really, and I think this is what the approach was look at the actions and figure out which ones were we already taking. And are we already at that 80% effort, and then there's only a little bit more that we need to do. And I think that's where the community campaigns came in. Mm-hmm. That organization was already working on trying to do some outreach as it was a natural fit. That's worth points. The LED lights, that's an action we were already doing, that's worth points. So it was more of looking at what the opportunities were and saying, ooh, if we just do this, then we can do that. And I feel the same way about the climate smart communities. Is there some of those things that are already on our list to do?
Right.
And I think if we just really, whether or not it's us as a group that focuses on what the effort is, or if it's, an engineer within the organization. I feel bad often that as a group we come up with great ideas and then Sarah gets to do all the work. I don't think that was ever our intention.
Which is, again, why we're looking at expanding and adding a sustainability engineer to the town role. To your point, yes, we're in the process of a lot of things. As Sarah said, there are things we've done with climate smart communities, but we haven't taken that leap with the town board. And frankly, that's probably the next step too, is to see where the town board is supportive and wants to go to, particularly with climate smart communities, because there's a resolution that needs to be passed. So if I'm hearing people, though, we like the idea of pursuing being a designated clean energy community, and that's very easy and tangible to do for a good first step that we can get done. But then we really do want to keep looking at the climate smart community plan and determining how we can fit into it and what we can do with our staff. Is that fair?
Yep.
Okay. All right, and then what I'll also do is bring this to the town board to alert them as to the steps that we've kind of discussed and make sure that they're on board as well. Okay? All right. Perfect. So maybe what we could do is I could come back with some town board feedback, and then also Sarah, if we could kind of summarize, I don't want to make you do too much more talking, but if we could summarize where we're at and where we have left to go with at least clean energy communities and what we've done with Climate Smart would be great.
Sure. So with clean energy communities, looking at the near future, we have already completed 2 high-impact items as a municipality.
Excuse me.
Bless you. We are in the process of completing another high-impact item, so that is 3. And we are only required to be designated to complete 4. We have started to work on the LED, sorry, I forgot the exact.
Streetlight.
Yep, the LED streetlight upgrades. I'm not actually sure of where we are in that process, other than I know that we've had an audit done.
Yes, we've had an audit done. We do have a cost for the project that's actually going to be coming up in work session tonight with the town board.
Oh.
So I hope to have some more feedback for you definitively
That's
after
great timing.
tonight. Pardon?
That's great timing.
We aim to please. And I want to just put out that Sarah had actually already compiled a checklist of where we were, and I was sitting right on my,
Oh, so that's not
Left-hand side.
actually, it's not completed of where we are. It is just the checklist from the Climate Smart Communities website. So if you have any of the Climate Smart Communities documents with you, that should include those items. And I also, for my reference, included a high impact actions item list, just so that I say the different things correctly.
so I would love to sit down with Mark and Sarah when they have a chance and go through this and just check off, where we're at, just
Yeah.
for the benefit of the committee too.
I think that's a great idea.
Okay.
Starting off for climate smart communities, one of the preliminary actions is a climate smart communities task force. EEAC, as it is now, could be considered that. So that is one direction we're going in. Another action is a climate smart communities coordinator, and it would be entirely reasonable for the town to have a sustainability engineer that they're looking to hire be that person. So those are 2 actions that are relatively simple that the town is either doing or going in the direction of. A resolution is a mandatory item, so that is something the town board would have to do. But as I'm aware, some committee members have at this point already started to put together a resolution. I believe Sinette is one of those. So we're already moving in that direction. I am sure that there are other items under Climate Smart that we've started
Right.
in the direction of, but I don't have them specifically written down right now.
Okay. All right, so that's a good conversation for us to have. And speaking about the task force, well, the next item I had was to talk about membership, because when I sent out an email to the committee about adding to replace someone who left the committee, I did hear back from one person. I didn't really hear back from others. I want to make sure that we're okay with you know who you are that responded. But I want to make sure, because we do have to publicize it. We are trying to be, encouraging citizens to be active in their government. So I just want to be sure that everyone's okay with that, and that you're not surprised, and that we'll start advertising for that position.
And for reference with that, generally committees and boards for the town of Penfield have had an odd number of members just to keep voting easier. as I'm aware, and maybe Mark can correct me if I'm wrong, normally town employees do not vote because we're employed by the town. So that's something to consider when considering members.
So at this point, we have four
Four
with Marissa.
4 resident members excluding yourself.
Right. 1, 2, 3, and then Marissa's.
So if you had one more, it'll put you to 5. and-
Right.
Yep.
So I would think we just need to add one member.
Yeah.
So we have one opening.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So I will start advertising that with Chris Tanay. Okay. And then typically what we've been doing is leaving open the application period for like 2 weeks, and then seeing, our applicant pool and going from there, whether we need to have interviews or something like that. And I'll keep you all posted.
For residents to apply to that position, what generally is the process, or where would they go to do that? Are you aware, or Chris?
Yes, they actually would just send in a letter and their CV or their resume to the supervisor. So supervisor@penfield.org, and we'll get that up on social media and also our website.
Thank you.
No
Yeah,
problem.
we did, if you want for reference, I can certainly show you what we did. I think it was at the end of January for some other boards and committees. So
I was
we
just-
did that before, and we can certainly do it again.
I was just thinking it'd be helpful for those watching,
Yep.
or that may watch in the future.
Yeah, it'll be, as Marie said, you'll be able to email supervisor@penfield.org, and we'll have the information on our homepage. It'll be under the news section, and then also on social media, which will be Facebook and Twitter.
Thanks.
Very good. All right. Anyone have anything else for the good of the order?
If you're interested in maybe a 2-minute thing, one of the town employees, Catherine in the planning department, has been updating our GIS viewers for the town, for both the public and private. And she has updated them to include electric vehicle charging stations with some information, so that residents that are curious of what electric vehicle charging stations are in town can go to the town GIS page and look into that. So currently I have one showing here, and it's at the town hall. I can't zoom in so you can see the image bigger, but it's a small electric charging station picture. And then there's data that's included with when you can use it, what the cost is, the address, and that kind of information. So we are in engineering and planning trying to improve the residents' ability to look into these things. And I thought this was a great addition that she worked on.
That's great. Thank you.
I think she added ones, not only just the town ones, she's tried to incorporate other ones, so that Walmart has them and other
Yep.
businesses have them. She's tried to incorporate those into our mapping as well.
That's terrific. Thank you.
Yeah.
So if anybody knows of others that, take a look at the viewer. If we've missed any, let engineering and planning know, and, we'll add it to our list. I know as Bob has shared in the past, there are websites you can go to that, list locations and spots across New York State and the country, I'm sure, that, show where charging stations are, but it is a nice feature that, she's added to our viewer that, for residents can look at, and it also shows zoning districts and shows, a lot of other information that, the residents can utilize.
Yep.
That's great.
That's cool.
If there's nothing else, I just want to announce that our next meeting will be on May 25th, and it'll be right back here. And then nothing else, I'll consider the meeting adjourned at 10 to 5 at 4:50.
Great.
Thank you.